Welcome back to Sleepy Palm Island. Tonight, we'll step into a small harbour antique shop, still glowing after the rain. Its shelves are filled with old statues, island instruments, carved masks, and small metal objects collected from many islands. The air smells of sandalwood. Soft island music hums in the background, and it feels safe to slow down. Before we explore this mystic shop, leave a comment with your city and the time there. I read them, and it supports the channel. Lie back, get comfortable, and let this story carry you into sleep. Imagine yourself in a small island harbour at night, with no traffic, no rush, only low lights along the shore. The sea rests in front of you, quiet except for its long breath against the sand. The air is warm, and every now and then a light, cool breeze moves through, carrying ocean salt, the smoke of grilled corn, and the soft vanilla scent of fresh pastries, cooling in a small harbour cafe. Somewhere down the road, a vendor fans the coals of a street grill, and the soft smoke drifts through the humid night. The rain has just ended, and droplets slide from palm leaves in slow silver trails, falling onto the sand that still glows faintly under lantern light. You're standing on a narrow harbour road. It curves with the shore, each stone glistening under the amber lanterns that hang from bamboo poles. From somewhere ahead drifts the sound of a small cafe, the gentle clink of cups, quiet voices, a chair moving across the floor. The world feels held between day and night, between the rhythm of waves and the hush that follows rain. As you walk, your sandals make a gentle squeak against the damp ground. Cafes glow softly along the harbour, their lights reflected in the wet stones. From open doorways drift the smells of lime, grilled fish, and warm herbal tea poured into small clay cups. A cat crosses the road, its tail brushing your ankle. Somewhere near the docks, quiet laughter rises and blends with the sound of the sea. Past the last cafe, past a line of motorbikes beaded with rain, you notice a soft glow further up the street. It isn't the sharp white of electric light, but a mellow, honeyed colour, the kind that makes everything around it seem softer. You keep walking until you see where it comes from. Between two modest buildings stands a small shop. Its walls are made of red brick, edges darkened slightly by years of sea air, and a single carved wooden door rests beneath a curved awning of woven palm. Above it, a teak sign sways gently in the breeze, the letters softly glowing in the lantern light. The Island Collector. Warm light spills from inside through low windows, casting a calm, golden glow onto the wet street. The building looks older than the others, almost grown from the harbour itself. Its eaves curve outward in the old Javanese style. Carved seabirds stretch their wings along the beam ends, their eyes inlaid with bits of mother of pearl, now dulled by salt. Around the door, a thick teak frame holds a dense field of carving, tight spirals that knot into leaves, shallow curves that echo waves, small crescent shapes tucked into the gaps. Decades of varnish have settled over the wood and cracked into fine lines, a dry network where moisture sits in tiny beads and catches the harbour light. Up close, the carving becomes clearer and more crowded. Vines run along the grain in narrow bands, their stems branching into ferns, shells, and flower heads no larger than a fingernail. Some leaves are cut deep, with veins you can feel under your fingertips. Others are no more than quick, shallow marks, like sketches pressed into the surface. Here and there, a wave pattern runs horizontally, stacked in thin rows that look like tide marks along the frame. The edges of many shapes have been worn smooth by hands sliding past, so corners round off, and the wood darkens in those spots. In the low grooves, the old amber varnish still rests, darker and glossier, and a thin film of sea air clings there, giving the frame a broken, steady shine when you stand in the doorway. The door itself is heavy, built from vertical planks of old teak, each one slightly uneven, the grain deep as river channels. Where the sun and salt have worn through, the wood shows streaks of silver grey beneath the darkened surface. Around the edges, traces of faded turquoise paint cling to the carvings, caught in the grooves like fragments of an older world. Tiny hand-carved motifs appear between the planks, fishtails curling into waves, palm fronds bending toward each other, small seabirds hidden between the patterns, as if resting. At its center, the Buddha sits upon a wide lotus, his posture calm, almost weightless against the wood. The lotus petals spread outward in concentric rings, each layer carved with remarkable precision, worn smooth by decades of gentle touch. Faint flecks of gilding still cling to the ridges of the petals, pale gold, softened to the tone of old honey. The Buddha's face, serene and patient, has lost some of its edges. The wood there is satin smooth, as if polished by rain and reverent fingers. Below him, the door's iron knocker, a heavy ring fixed in the mouth of a barong, waits like an echo from the past. The barong's face, carved in fierce grace, combines the features of a lion and dragon, mane swirling outward in layered curls that merge with the floral borders. Its surface bears centuries of wear, patches of dark bronze where fingers have rubbed the metal smooth, pale veins of green where salt has crept in, and tiny dents that hold stories of long seasons of wind. When moved, the ring gives a deep, round tone, not sharp, but resonant, like the opening of a temple door. Legend on Bali says this barong is a village protector, a guardian spirit people call on in dances and temple rites to keep illness and harmful spirits away. Its presence is seen as a sign of protection and good fortune for the home. Now, it hangs quietly beneath the carved Buddha. The doorway feels less like an entrance and more like a boundary between the world of salt and rain outside and the world of stillness and story within. The windows are fogged from humidity, the glass slightly warped so that the light behind it looks like it's breathing. When you step closer, you can make out shapes inside, tall shells, shadows of objects, the outline of someone moving slowly. The smell reaches you before the sound does. Sandalwood, faint but constant, mixed with the sweetness of old wood and salt. Rain begins again. Not a storm, just a fine, warm drizzle that darkens the boards beneath your feet. You take shelter under the awning. Drops slide down the carved frame of the door, gathering in grooves that twist into patterns of vines and waves. Small brass hinges, turned dull with salt air, catch the light each time the breeze moves the door. You reach out. The handle is smooth and cool. When you push, it gives way with a soft creak, and the small bell above it rings. A bright, simple sound that hangs in the air for a moment before being absorbed by the quiet inside. The shop smells stronger here. Sandalwood. The temperature shifts. It's a little warmer, the air denser, with the scent of rain-soaked wood. You pause near the entrance. Behind you, the street glows faintly gold through the misted glass. The light deepens to amber. Shelves line the walls, each filled not with trinkets, but with things made by hand: wood, fabric, clay, metal, their colors meted by time. The floorboards creak as you move, each step answered by the steady rhythm of the ceiling fan above. It moves lazily, scattering light and scent through the space. The music plays softly from an unseen speaker, a slow island instrumental woven from bamboo flute, soft gamelan chimes, and the deep, mellow pulse of a wooden drum. The melody drifts like mist, unhurried and circular, each note lingering in the air before melting into the next. It feels less like a song and more like the sound of the island itself breathing. Rain on the roof above, the fan's steady hum, and that quiet rhythm binding everything together. You step further in. A low lamp burns near the counter, its glass shade painted with faded scenes of palms and waves. The light touches everything: the corners of woven mats, the brass latch of a chest, the curve of a carved bowl. You move deeper into the shop, and the air grows warmer, thick with sandalwood and the faint tang of brass polished by age. The light falls unevenly, spilling across carvings, metal and shadow, until the whole room feels alive, as if each object is holding its breath, waiting for you to notice it. Near the entrance, on a low table, sits a brass Ganesha, its trunk coiled loosely around a cracked pearl. The figure leans slightly to one side, the metal uneven from decades of hand rubbing. Tiny drops of wax have hardened near its base, as if someone once lit a candle there and forgot. Behind it stands a wooden Saraswati, carved from jackfruit wood, her veena missing a string, her face softened by time. Faded traces of indigo still cling to the folds of her robe, and a small chip near her hand reveals the pale, raw wood beneath, the color of sand after rain. Beside them rests something unexpected, a long bamboo instrument, hollowed and bound with thin strips of rattan. Small shells hang from its ends, chiming faintly whenever a breeze sneaks in through the door. The sound is like the sea remembering itself. A note written on yellowed paper reads, "Made for calling spirits of wind, never for music." When your finger brushes its surface, you feel the smoothness of worn lacquer, the faint oil left from many hands. To the right of the doorway, near a set of wooden shelves, hangs an old framed painting of a rice field. The surface is slightly cracked and textured, with thin, careful brushstrokes forming narrow terraces that step down the hillside in soft green layers. Tiny figures in wide hats work between the rows, painted with simple, precise lines among small palm trees and distant rooftops. The colors are warm and a little faded, giving the whole scene a calm, settled feeling, like a memory held on worn canvas. On the floor, slightly off-center, stands a massive Buddha head carved from volcanic stone. It's not displayed, it simply is, as if the shop was built around it. The face is calm, features softened by moss and salt. A thin crack runs down from the left eyebrow, but it doesn't break the serenity. It adds to it, like an old scar on kind skin. Around its base, someone has placed several small figures: a kneeling monk, hands folded in prayer, a tiny bronze Garuda, wings spread as if mid-flight, and a terracotta lion, its expression oddly human, its mouth half open, as though caught in mid-laugh. You turn toward a corner where the light thickens into amber. A pair of Balinese drums stand side by side, their skins stretched tight, painted with spirals of red and black. Along their rims, small charms dangle, coral beads, bits of dried palm leaf, and a few silver coins tied with thin thread. Between them lies a wooden flute from Java, cracked but beautifully patched with resin, its mouthpiece darkened by years of use. Higher up, on a hanging shelf, rests a ceramic figure of Dewi Shri, goddess of rice and fertility. She holds a bundle of stalks in one hand and the bird in the other. The glaze is uneven, mottled with greens and browns, like the skin of river stones. Around her feet, small clay frogs sit in a circle, each one with its mouth open in eternal song. A few steps away, you see an unusual bronze figure from the island of Flores, part man, part bird, with an elongated face and arms folded back into wings. It has a calm, steady posture, and its details are fine and careful rather than sharp. Thin lines of worn script run across its chest, and a faint scent of oil lingers on the metal. When light touches it, the surface turns a soft, warm gold, then gently fades back into the dimness. Near it stands a large sasando, the Rhode Island harp, its half-spherical body wrapped in woven palm leaves that rustle softly each time you move. The strings shimmer faintly, and when you brush them with your nail, they answer with a sound like raindrops hitting the sea. The resonance fills the space between statues, between breaths, between now and something older. On the next table, several small gods of unknown names sit together, one with 4 arms and a laughing face, one holding what looks like a mirror, another simply crouching, eyes closed. None of them are polished. The bronze is dark, pitted, and alive with detail. Around them lie objects of sound, a pair of bamboo clappers, a tiny gong, and a reed instrument shaped like a fish, its mouth open as if singing. Behind them, leaning against the wall, is a wooden mask, taller than a man's torso, part demon, part ancestor. Its teeth are carved from bone, the rest from red cedar. One eye is a mirror, cracked, the other a shell, opaque and pale. When you shift slightly, the light in its mirrored eye flickers like a heartbeat. The music from the unseen speaker seems to echo what surrounds you. The same tones of bamboo, metal, and wood, woven together in lazy rhythm. Each note feels drawn from the objects themselves, a hum from the Buddha's lips, a whisper from the sasando strings, the low breath of the drums. You kneel briefly to look closer at a tiny brass figure near the floor, a fisherman with a net cast into nothingness. The detail is astonishing, his hat bent by imaginary wind, the threads of the net so fine they seem almost real. Beside him, a small clay turtle bears a chipped candle holder on its back. The wax is pooled in its shell, hardened into amber waves. Everywhere you look, there's no repetition, only difference, only story. Each piece seems to come from a place where art and faith were the same act. A sculptor carving a prayer, a musician coaxing a god to listen. The air feels heavy with their presence. You can hear the faint ring of metal as it cools, the whisper of a reed vibrating, the sigh of a brush over wood. And for a moment, it's unclear whether you're walking through a shop or through the island's collective memory, where sound, scent, and spirit blur into one quiet, endless song. The shop feels larger now that you've walked deeper in, though you know it's small. The walls seem to absorb time. Every piece feels like a fragment of a story still unfolding. Not relics, but lives paused. The smell of sandalwood continues to drift softly, blending with the rain's rhythm and the low piano. When you look toward the counter again, the shopkeeper has poured another cup of tea. He sets it near the edge, not saying anything, only nodding once. The steam curls upward and catches the lamplight like mist over water. You take the cup in both hands. It's warm but not hot, the rim smooth. The taste is fresh, faintly sweet. As you sip, you realize how silent everything else has become. Only rain, faint music, and the heartbeat of the place itself. The longer you stand there, the softer the edges of thought become. You breathe in the sandalwood, the rain, the tea, and it feels as though the air itself is guiding you to slow down, to notice each sound, a drip, a creak, a note of piano, arrives and fades like a tide. Outside, the harbour glows under a thin film of mist. Inside, the light deepens to gold. The rain keeps time, steady and forgiving. You set the cup down, listening to the final notes of the melody fade into the hush, and feel the calm settle like warm sand beneath your feet. You pause near a narrow shelf tucked between two tall cabinets. The lamplight falls unevenly there, glancing across a scatter of small objects, bits of brass, wood, and glass, each carrying its own quiet history. Among them, something catches your eye, a pendant resting on a folded linen cloth. It isn't ornate, just a clear, uncut piece of quartz, softly clouded in the center, like breath on glass. A thin cord of coconut fiber holds it, its surface slightly rough where it's been hand twisted. You lift it gently. The quartz feels cool and solid, the kind of weight that seems to settle your hand rather than pull on it. Through the stone, a faint hairline crack catches the light. Not a flaw, but a line that makes it unique. The shopkeeper notices. He walks over, wiping his hands on a cloth. That one came from Lombok, he says. A local craftsman shaped it from mountain quartz. Nothing fancy, told me it's for those moments when everything runs too fast. You hold it for a while, and in that small wait, you find a bit of space, as if the rest of the day has stepped back. You turn the pendant slowly between your fingers. "It's strange," you say quietly. "It feels warm already." He smiles. "That happens. Quartz takes the warmth from your hand pretty quickly. People like to think it does something more, but maybe that's all it needs to do. Remind you you're still here." He slides the pendant toward you on the counter. "Keep it," he says. "It's not a lucky charm, just something solid. Something you can hold when the world moves too fast." The quartz rests in your palm, smooth at the edges, slightly uneven in the middle. You can feel the cord against your wrist, coarse but comfortable. When you close your hand, the stone settles into your grip, like it belongs there. You look up at the shopkeeper. "Thank you," you say quietly, the words carrying more feeling than sound. He smiles, that easy island smile. "You're welcome," he says. "Just let it remind you to be where you are." The rain outside keeps its quiet rhythm. Inside, the ceiling fan hums softly. From a small speaker near the back drifts a slow piano tune, gentle, unhurried, almost like a conversation that doesn't need answers. The shopkeeper returns to his chair and lifts his cup, watching the thin line of steam curl upward. "It's a good evening for calm," he says, not as advice, but as simple recognition of how the world feels when it finally breathes in rhythm with itself. You nod and slip the pendant around your neck. The stone rests lightly against your chest, still carrying a trace of warmth, steady, quiet, alive in its stillness. You linger a while longer, not yet ready to step back into the rain. The sound of it outside feels distant now, softened by the thick wooden walls. Inside, the air is still, heavy with sandalwood and the faint echo of the piano. You walk back toward the shelf where the pendant first caught your eye. The lamp nearby hums faintly, its glow warm and low, spreading across the surfaces of brass and teak. Shadows move gently with the turning fan above. Everything in the shop seems slower now, quieter, as if the room itself is breathing with you. You take a seat on the small bench near the counter. The wood is smooth, worn by time. The pendant rests in your palm, the cord slipping between your fingers. It catches the light, that soft, uneven quartz, its faint crack shining like a frozen thread of lightning. Around you, the shop settles. The sound of rain becomes a rhythm in the background, the kind that no longer asks for attention, only keeps time. Somewhere, a drop falls into a metal bowl. The note it makes is low, round, and comforting. The shopkeeper moves quietly behind the counter, refilling his teacup. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The moment feels whole without words. You can feel the heat from the lamp at your shoulder, the faint movement of air from the ceiling fan, the soft pulse of calm that fills the space. The pendant sits still in your hand. Its surface has lost its chill. It now carries your warmth, as if it remembers you. You trace its edge with your thumb, the uneven curve, the slight dip where the craftsman's tool once slipped, the tiny hollow that holds a shimmer of light. It feels real, simple, steady, a small weight that belongs to the world, not apart from it. The smell of sandalwood drifts again, gentle, dry, familiar. You close your eyes. Behind your eyelids, the golden glow of the lamp becomes softer, then dimmer, until it feels like the memory of light. The floor creaks softly, as though the building shifts to a more comfortable position. You breathe in the scent of rain on warm wood, a trace of sea salt and sandalwood in the air. You breathe out. The day folds away quietly. The pendant remains in your hand, its weight grounding, patient. When you lift it slightly, it catches the faint reflection of the lamp again, a slow pulse of gold that fades with your breath. You lean back against the wall. Outside, the rain continues its rhythm, a steady murmur like the sea brushing against the harbour. Inside, the air has grown still, wrapped in the hush of closing time. The shopkeeper has turned off one of the lamps. The remaining light flickers gently across the shelves, brushing over carvings, bronze, and fabric. Each piece glows for a heartbeat before returning to shadow. You let your hand rest on your lap, the pendant resting there, a small reminder of quiet, of steadiness, of being exactly where you are. The warmth from it seems to spread through your arm, into your chest, and further still, until the air feels the same temperature as your breath. You can feel your thoughts slowing, one by one, until there's only the rhythm of your breathing, and the soft hush of rain beyond the windows. Everything else, the harbour, the street, the world outside, seems to dissolve into the background hum of peace. You stay there, eyes half closed, listening to the fan turning, to the gentle shift of wood, to the faint music fading in and out, like something half remembered. And as the rain continues, the calm deepens. Not silence, but something softer, the kind of stillness that feels alive. You let it fill you, slowly, completely. The pendant remains warm against your skin, quiet and sure, a small, steady anchor in a world that's finally at rest.